Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, demonstrations against the war in Gaza continue after hundreds of protesters are arrested. Plus, abortion rights battles in several states may be the sticking point that sways voters headed to the polls this November.
Plus, we are tracking some wet weather for Friday, also for the weekend. Those details coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Campus protests against the war in Gaza are escalating across the country, with protesters and counter-protesters clashing at UCLA and hundreds of protesters arrested in New York City. CBS's Michael George has the latest from Columbia University in New York.
UCLA canceled classes Wednesday following clashes between two protest groups over the war in Gaza.
It is causing a lot of issues for people feeling unsafe on both sides.
Overnight, counter-demonstrators launched what looked like fireworks into an encampment set up by pro-Palestinian protesters and also attempted to knock down the barriers in front of the camp. George Washington University in Washington, D.C. and the University of Texas, Dallas are among the latest colleges where protesters have set up encampments. Students are calling on the administration to divest from companies that support the war effort.
They know our demands. Until they meet them, our commitment is to stay in this space.
At the University of Wisconsin-Madison, a campus police spokesperson said 4 law enforcement officers were hurt trying to dismantle protesters' tents.
We are not asking protesters to leave. We support their constitutional right to be here. But the main issue we moved in today is because they were in violation of Chapter 18, which does not allow camping or camping equipment on campus property.
In New York City, police also began removing tents at Columbia University. Earlier, scuffles broke out after officers, at the request of the university, removed protesters from an academic building they'd been occupying.
The operation was organized, calm, and that there were no injuries or violent clashes.
The NYPD is expected to remain on campus through graduation later this month to prevent another encampment. And while police were able to clear the tents at Columbia, pro-Palestinian students at nearby Fordham University set up a similar protest. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
New York City officials say 300 protesters were arrested overnight, including more than 100 at Columbia and nearly 200 at a nearby city college in New York. Dozens of protesters who were arrested at Ohio State's campus last week are demanding the charges against them be dropped. They appeared at the Columbus City Council meeting Monday night to let their voices be heard. Of course, this comes after months of protests on campus in support of Palestine, calling on the university to divest ties with Israel. Many of them blaming Columbus police for the arrest, but city officials made it clear they were not part of it.
The Columbus Division of Police did not make any arrests at OSU on April 25th.
When they proceeded to pick me up by both my hair and my neck and slam my head into the ground and hold me there before dragging me through the grass of my oval.
The arrests were made by university officers and State Highway Patrol. Another protest was scheduled at the university today. Also today, the House is voting on the bipartisan Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. The legislation would mandate the standard the Department of Education enforced federal anti-discrimination laws it uses to define anti-Semitism. It's one put forward by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Supporters say this will help combat anti-Semitism on college campuses where pro-Palestinian protests have sprung up recently.
We are tracking plenty of sunshine and warm weather on this first day of May. A live look from the London Corbin Airport. Hardly a cloud in the sky back in the distance, and that current temperature is well above average. We should be in the middle 70s. Most of us today in the upper 70s to lower 80s, up to 82 for Somerset. Also in Manchester, 80 for Jackson, and up to 77 for our friends in Pike County at this hour. So we are tracking some more mild weather as we go into this evening. Up on the radar, a clean sweep also continues all thanks to high pressure. And this weather system will bring some more dry and comfortable weather to close out your Wednesday and some more dry and sunny conditions tomorrow thanks to high pressure. But those rain chances are not far away. This evening, though, be sure to enjoy the calm weather. We stay dry under a mainly clear to partly cloudy sky. Those temperatures are mild in the middle to lower 70s. Most of us wake up in the 50s on Thursday, and some of us could be close to 90 by this time tomorrow. Those details coming up in just a little bit. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. State legislatures have become the center of the battle over abortion rights since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. That battle played out in Arizona and Florida today, which could have a big impact on the November presidential election. CBS's Skylar Henry has more from the White House.
The Arizona Senate narrowly repealed a near total ban on abortions that had been on the books since 1864. The motion only passed after 2 Republicans flipped to join Democrats in voting to repeal it.
We have 2 Republicans voting with the Democrats to repeal an abortion ban while saying I'm pro-life.
The repeal of the law is just the latest battle over abortion rights in the state, but it's not the last. Arizona voters will decide for themselves in November on a state constitutional amendment enshrining the right to abortion.
We need to get to the point where government is out of any reproductive health care choices. This is the first step to getting us there, but we have to pass this ballot initiative in November in order to get government out of those choices.
Abortion rights will also be on the ballot in Florida, and the Biden campaign believes those measures will help bring Democratic-friendly voters to the polls. Vice President Kamala Harris campaigned on abortion rights in Florida Wednesday, the same day that state's ban on abortions after 6 weeks took effect.
An abortion ban so extreme it applies before many women even know they are pregnant.
Florida's law includes exceptions for rape, incest, fetal abnormalities, and life of the mother.
We think we have a good law, a compassionate law, a moral law.
What's happening in Arizona and Florida could have a big impact on who becomes the next president. A new CBS News poll shows a majority of voters in the presidential swing states such as Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin are closely watching what happens in the abortion battles of Arizona and Florida. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The CBS News poll of battleground states found a majority of voters say they were angry or dissatisfied with the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Nearly 2 years after that Supreme Court decision, Americans remain broadly opposed to the ruling. That's according to a new CNN poll, which found about 2/3 opposed the Supreme Court decision, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. Only 34% approve of the ruling limiting access to abortion. The numbers have remained effectively unchanged in CNN's polling during the nearly 2 years since the ruling. Marjorie Taylor Greene says she will force a vote on House Speaker Mike Johnson's ouster next week. The move comes after Democrats said they will vote to ensure Johnson does not lose his job. Greene originally filed the motion to oust Johnson in March in response to conservative anger over his handling of the government funding fight. The vote is expected to fail, but it escalates pressure on Johnson and sets up a major showdown on the House floor. 92% of local election officials have taken action to increase security. That's according to a new survey released by NYU's Brennan Center for Justice. Nearly 40% of local election officials say they have been harassed, abused, or threatened. The report found that the threats had increased since 2020. A new $24 million election operations center will open later this year in North Carolina that will include high-tech security features. The Air Force is preparing new charges against the Massachusetts Air National Guardsman who leaked classified information on social media. Jack Teixeira pleaded guilty in federal court to all 6 counts he faced under the Espionage Act back in March. Prosecutors say he posted a trove of highly classified intelligence reports and other documents on the social media platform Discord. The Air Force will hold its first hearing to review evidence on May 14th. Manhattan prosecutors have announced they will retry Harvey Weinstein's New York rape case. An appeals court overturned the Hollywood producer's sex crimes conviction last week. A prosecutor at the hearing said the case against Weinstein remains strong and they want to retry it as soon as September if possible. Weinstein appeared in the New York courtroom in his first public appearance since his conviction was overturned. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, scammers are always looking for ways to take advantage of people, including student loan borrowers. What to look out for when guarding against these scams.
Plus, another warm day is on the way for Thursday. Your first alert forecast after this break.